Welcome. Good evening, good people, and welcome to another episode of A Pastor and a Therapist. My name is Pastor Byron Benton, Senior Pastor of Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church, right down here in the great city of North Charleston, South Carolina. And I am the pastor in A Pastor and a Therapist. And you might be wondering, where's the therapist? She is currently stuck in traffic in Atlanta trying to get home to join us here. So unfortunately, you got to just deal with me opening us up. But don't worry, we have some phenomenal guests who are going to be with us. And as soon as Dr. Frederica can, she will be with us as well. But do me a favor, all those who have come, hit up the chat section, say hello to your virtual friends who are joining us live and those who will watch later. Say a hello, and also hit up where are you watching, tuning in from. Hit us up with your city, with your state, rep exactly what and where you're from. All right. With that said, I'm going to jump right into things and talk a little bit about our purpose, set it up, and get on out the way so that we can hear from our phenomenal guests. Today's purpose for our episode is to highlight how body, mind, and spirit alignment can address damaging health trends within the Black community. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. When we talk about health in the African American community, we can't ignore the warning signs that are all around us. The data tells a sobering story. Nearly 1 in 5 Black adults describe their health as fair or poor. More than half live with high blood pressure, one of the leading causes of heart disease and stroke. Almost 1 in 2 Black adults struggle with obesity, and our children are following the same pattern, with 1 in 5 Black high schoolers now considered obese. Diabetes continues to rise. If you grew up like I grew up, I remember my grandparents said, I got the sugar, right? It was just something that was common within our community growing up, where everyone of a certain age had sugar or had diabetes. It's affecting Black adults nearly 25% more than the general population and leading to higher rates of kidney failure, amputations, and premature death. The maternal mortality rate for Black women is almost 3 times higher than that of white women, and life expectancies for Black Americans is nearly 5 years shorter than average. Beyond physical illness, mental health concerns are also growing. Suicide rates among Black Americans has risen more than 50% over the past decade. Even as stigma and mistrust of the health system keep many from keeping and getting the help that they need, right? And these aren't just numbers. I mean, I see this within my church community. I see it within my family. These aren't numbers. We know that these are lives. These are families. These are the futures of many that are being impacted by these dynamics. Yet, we believe that healing is possible. Not just for the body, but for the mind and spirit. In today's episode of A Pastor and Therapist, we'll explore how faith, fitness, and integrative care can help us take steps to practical ways to live out the words found in 3 John 1 and 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So take a moment and just tell yourself, beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. As you prepare your mind to hear from our phenomenal guests, tell yourself that you are beloved, and it is my belief that it is God's will that you would prosper and be in good health, and it is definitely my will for you. So with that said, let me briefly introduce our guests. They have a resume, each of them, that is so extensive that it would take up our entire hour just to introduce one of them if I truly tried to give them justice. During the intro, we tried to pull up some blurbs on each of them so that you could get ahead of it, but I'm going to go through them very quickly and introduce them to the best of my ability. All right. First up, we have the good Dr. Jamel R. Felder, currently resides in Greenwood, South Carolina, but was born and raised in Florence, South Carolina. She earned a BS in biology psychology from Duke University and her MD from the Medical University of South Carolina. She is double board certified in pediatrics and obesity medicine. She also has an MBA from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Let's welcome Dr. Felder. Woo, 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 woo.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see everybody in the chat. So looking forward to this wonderful conversation.
Amen. Thank you for being with us. And I'm getting ready to add somebody else here. All right. This is Dr. Asia McDonald, practices in Somerville, South Carolina, right here. Triple board certified in family medicine, lifestyle medicine, and obesity medicine, a rare combination that uniquely qualifies her to address both acute health concerns and chronic disease through evidence-based lifestyle interventions. Her integrated approach has helped patients prevent, manage, and often reverse it, chronic conditions through personalized lifestyle modifications. And of course, the name of her practice is Healthy Roots. And let us welcome Dr. Asia McDonald. Thank you for being with us today.
Greetings, everyone. It's my pleasure. I'm so excited about this discussion tonight.
All right. And last but certainly not least, we got the right Reverend, Dr. Khalil A. Carmichael, founder and senior pastor of Live Well Church, and also the founder of Fit Care 360, a not-for-profit comprehensive personal training and wellness studio with offices in Somerset and Windsor, New Jersey. Somebody go because it's cold up there right now. Previously known as the Fitness Doctor, Fit Care 360 has been helping transform lives for over 20 years and engages the mind, body, and spirit to attain lasting well-being. Let's welcome Dr. Khalil Carmichael.
Hello, everyone. So glad to be here with you this evening. And my intention is to be with these wonderful panelists and to help you live well, mind, body, and spirit. That is my intention tonight. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for being here. To everyone, thank you all so much. Y'all, we are blessed to have a phenomenal panel of experts, and we have a short amount of time. So I'm going to jump right in. And since Dr. Carmichael was last, the last shall become first. So I want to start with you and ask you, what are the biggest barriers you see when it comes to fitness, faith, and discipline in our community? What are the biggest barriers?
Wow, I would have to say that some of the biggest barriers that I experience with my congregation, people that I train in my fitness business, and sometimes myself are I would have to say the 3 Ds, and you name one of them, Dr. Benton. The 3 Ds these are barriers for us: denial, distractions, and discipline. Denial, and the fact that we just really we're in denial, I believe, about how much food we're eating. We're in denial. We're in denial about our lack of exercise. I talk to people and I say, you need to start exercising. And they say, well, I move, or I wash clothes, or I rake the leaves, or I go for a walk every day. I walk my dog, and that's great. You should do those things. Movement is medicine. It's like medicine. But, we can't be in denial that we have to actually work within the 3 components of fitness: cardiovascular exercise, flexibility exercise, instruction or exercise, and, can I get a drum roll? Strength training, weightlifting. I mean, all of us, everybody has to lift weights. And so we're in denial. We're distracted. We're distracted by busyness. This is a huge barrier for us when it comes to exercising and taking care of ourselves. We often prioritize everybody else but us. We're easily distracted by our phone, by our responsibilities, by our children, by our prayer service, by our role in service to the church. We're deacons and deaconesses and prophetesses and evangelists and everything else, but we often forget to take care of ourselves, and we're distracted by busyness, by our responsibilities. Distraction is a barrier. And finally, discipline. The D word, I get in so much trouble when I talk about this, but it's ironic. It's kind of funny that we as Christians, we're supposed to be disciples, which is, part of being disciplined, and we avoid discipline at all costs. I want to just tell you, it's not inspiration. It's not a walking buddy. It's none of that will get you and keep you exercising. It is only discipline. When you're not motivated, when you're not inspired, discipline will wake you up early in the morning and get you on that treadmill, on that walking trail, lifting those weights, or working with your trainer. It is only discipline. And lack of discipline is a huge barrier for us. I would say it's the number one, lack of discipline. So that's it right there, Dr. B.
So discipline.
Discipline. Nothing more, nothing less.
And with that said, is there any advice you have for how someone can start moving towards discipline? Like, is there something that I can do to begin my daily routine? Because I know when I've gotten stuck in a rut before, and just the thought of going to the gym, just the thought of getting out, it just seems insurmountable. And also, I think sometimes that I have to have an hour or 2 hours to be able to working out. So what would you say is something that someone can do to add movement to the daily routine or lifestyle habits that to start their fitness journey?
Right. I just think that that's a great question. So let's just keep it simple. The first thing is that people of faith, we have to understand that this is a requirement, that this is a mandate from God to take care of this temple. 1 Corinthians 6:19 says that the body is the house of God. This is we are not our own. We have to take care of this body. It says to glorify God with our body as well as our spirit. Now we have the glorification of God with our spirit down pat. We lift our hands, we worship, we dance, we preach, we pray, all of that. We're good. But we have to glorify God with our body. And that is movement, that is taking care of this temple, that is healthy eating. So we have to understand that this is part of our Christian experience. This is part of our faith mandate. This is part of a command to take care of this beautiful body that's not ours, that God gave to us. So we want to understand that it's part of our faith. I often say that exercise is like prayer for the body. In other words, I believe that we should incorporate exercise with our morning prayer, a little movement while you're praying. It's nothing like moving, just some practical things. You can lift your hands as you're praying. You can walk while you're praying. You can get moving while you're praying. Okay. So that's one way, starting to move. Also, let's start small increments of exercise. There's a report from Dr. Peter Attia, I think I'm saying his name correctly, but he talks about longevity training. And it's something that I wish I had to put pen to paper to, because I discovered this 25 years ago, but he wrote the book, so he's doing it, and it's all good. And I believe in exactly what he's saying, but you don't need 30 minutes or an hour to exercise. Do you know that if you exercise for 15 minutes or so, even less, that if you just start moving, the moment that you start moving, endorphins start to come forth, and it starts to make you feel better. Endorphins is derived from the word morphine, and it kind of makes you feel good. Okay, just like morphine makes you feel good. It makes you happy, makes you feel good. So these endorphins start to flow. But do you know that the moment you stop exercising, you feel better? So you can move and exercise for 7 minutes, for 9 minutes, for 15 minutes, and the moment that you stop, you're going to feel better. So I just want to recommend moving. Let's get some practical things of moving. You can lift your hands in a chair. If you can't stand, if you can stand, you can lift your arms and your right leg simultaneously to work on balance, which is very important. That's a whole nother talk. But you can start moving. You can walk. I want to tell you to get some help. I want to encourage you, lovingly encourage you, to find a fitness instructor or someone that can help you. Not your nephew, not your cousin that's a fireman, not your friend that was in the military. A trained professional that can help you. And I know it may seem like it may cost a lot, but you can find people at the local YMCA. You can find people in your church who may be knowledgeable in fitness and training. But I want to lovingly encourage you to get you some help, to go up to someone that you know is a fitness trainer or a fitness professional, credentialed, experienced, and allow them to help you. And they will help you, and they will probably help you without charging you anything. So I want to use that as a practical way as well. And also maybe even consider taking some free classes at your local YMCA, some stretching, some yoga. You can try water aerobics. These are some very practical things, and they're within our community. They're there. These services are there for us. But I would start right with your local church. There are fitness professionals in your church. And if you help them, and you can even throw the Bible at them. You can say, it's better to give than receive. You can say the Lord loves a cheerful giver. You know, one of the things that we do at our church is we have a free fitness program, and it's for everyone. And it's called Fit in 15. And I don't know, Dr. Byron, if I could share that now, maybe.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, I just want to say we have a way we can help you as well. It's absolutely free. All you have to do is log on. Every Saturday morning, I work with everybody, no matter your fitness level. I work with you, and I help you with movement. And you just get in front of your camera. You can see me, but I can't see you, and nobody else can see you. So you can be in your PJs, your DJs, or whatever. You can be in your sweatsuit. You can be there and just get in front of that camera and follow me. And it's live. It's not recorded. And I do this every Saturday. And it is my service to God and to God's people. And I would love for you to join us. You'll see some information about that later. But listen, I want to tell everybody, you can do it. God has given us this body for movement. And I work with those who are neurodiverse. I work with seniors. I work with those with Alzheimer's and dementia. And do you know that when I walk into the room, even with those that are with Alzheimer's or dementia, in those memory units, do you know that when I walk in and I start that exercise, that they participate? Because I think it's something that God put in us that tells us that we have to get moving. You know, that voice that you hear, that voice on the inside that never stops, that says you should exercise. You heard that voice. You hear that voice all the time. I want to tell you a secret. That is not the devil. That is the creator of heaven and earth telling you, is beloved, to get moving. And that voice is internal. It's internal. You know what that means? That that voice is internal with an I. That voice is eternal. That voice has been speaking to you before you were formed in the womb. And that voice is effectual. That means that it will never stop. So You got to get moving. You got to get moving. You got to get moving. And you can do it. You can do it. You can.
Get moving. Get moving. Oh man, this has been fruitful. Thank you so much. And of course, we'll bring you back up at the end with everyone else. But this helps us to understand something else, right? And that means this behavior movement, it's learned behavior from when we are very young. And I'm grateful that we know that, hey, we can add movement to our worship for those of us that attend church, pray in private, etc. But what about our children and families? How do we build healthier habits from a start? And who better to ask than a pediatrician? And so let's welcome one back on up to the stage so that she can help us figure this out. We're seeing a rise in childhood obesity rates, anxiety among Black youth. What factors are driving these trends, Dr. Jamil?
Okay, well, thank you for that question, and thank you for the Reverend Carmichael for that segment. That was very inspirational. And if I don't know if people feel like moving after that, but I certainly do. So thank you, sir, for that. But I want to level set. I always like to start with some data, and Dr. Byron started us off with some statistics earlier in the podcast. But I want to talk specifically about children. So there was a recent report called The State of Obesity. It's released every year. It was actually released for 2025 last month, October 16th. And what it found was the states with the highest adult obesity rates were West Virginia. 41.4% of adults in West Virginia had the diagnosis of obesity. Mississippi was number 2 with 40.4%, and Louisiana was 39.2%. And you won't be surprised to know that the 3 highest rates of childhood obesity are in those same exact states. Mississippi was a little bit higher, one out over West Virginia and Louisiana. But what that lets us know is that what is modeled sometimes happens with the children as well. So if you have a parent or both parents that have the diagnosis of obesity, then it is more likely that your child would have childhood obesity as well. And so I just wanted to just put that there. But then if we take it another step and look at our community, so the highest rates of obesity overall in adults are in the Black population. 49.9% of adults in this nation have a diagnosis of obesity. That's almost half of us. And then followed up by Hispanic adults of 45.6%. And so as far as children, our children, again, follow. Black youth have and Hispanic youth have higher rates of obesity than their white and Asian counterparts. The Hispanic children actually have a higher obesity rate of 26.2% compared to Black children at 24.8%. But since the mid-70s, when I was growing up, the obesity rate in children has tripled. So you think about that. And then with our communities, Black and Brown communities having the bulk of that, those numbers is very troubling. And so what can we think? What do we think? What are some of the reasons that we have those? Well, structural barriers to healthier eating, including cost. So it costs more to eat healthier. As we all know, if you go to Chick-fil-A and get the fruit cup, that's $1 upcharge than if you just get the fries. So, so it does cost sometimes more to eat healthy. And access. So sometimes we have food deserts and those things that the healthy food access to that is not in our neighborhoods, or we don't have a grocery store near us. And so that also, I think, affects those rates. And then as far as the lack of opportunities and safe areas to be active in some of our neighborhoods can contribute to lack of places to have physical activity and do that movement that Reverend Carmichael was talking about. So let me just switch a little bit because we're talking about anxiety as well. And so in 2019, the Congressional Black Caucus, they created an emergency task force to discuss the high rates of suicide and mental health challenges reported in our community. And the name of that report was called Ring the Alarm. And they had an update to that report in 2023 called Still Ringing the Alarm. And basically that most recent report in 2023 showed that between 2007 and 2020, the suicide rate among Black youths aged 10 to 17 increased by 144% in that time frame. And then in 2021, 1 in 5 Black high school students reported seriously considering attempting suicide within that year. And so suicide rates are increasing the most in our racial demographic, and we are least likely to seek treatment for that. And so what are some reasons why we're seeing those increase of mental health concerns and issues and suicide rates in Black youth? Well, Some of it is racism, and this is in that report where they said interpersonal and institutional racism has caused them to feel anxious or feel like they don't want to live in this society. And if you think about when that report was done, we were at the end of COVID and the social justice social justice movement with the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. So I also think that social isolation among our youth, where they're more isolated from their peers. Certainly during COVID, they were isolated, but even after that, they're very consumed by screens. And so it's very difficult for them sometimes to even have a social setting when they're not involved in places and things where they can have those social encounters. And then chronic stress and exposures to adverse childhood experiences, such as traumatic events that they've witnessed within their home or within their communities, are other causes that are causing our mental health issues to be increased in our communities.
Wow. So this is, you know, when I hear this, and Pastor Carmichael got me excited, and then this brutal crash into reality, because what you're talking about is systemic issues that with because our children are innocent, right? They're just at the mercy of whatever system they're a part of.
Right.
And so the food deserts you talked about, the lack of safe spaces to play, all the impacts that they have. For someone who's sitting there, who's a parent of 3 kids like me, or a grandparent, and we're going, man, we really relate. Like, okay, I see this. What advice might you have that we should be doing, or even those of us who are leaders in the faith community, et cetera? What could or should we be doing to try and push this thing to make sure that our kids are actually able to get out and get active safely?
But the first thing I'm going to say is get them off the screens. All pediatricians talk about screen time, and it's not, screen time aside from homework, because we know that computers with all the Chromebooks and all that, but you should limit screen time to no more than an hour a day. And that's outside of schoolwork. So, but really trying to get that screen time to as little as possible, and to encourage physical activity, but also making sure that there's a safe place for people to have, for children to play. So safe and some place to go. So I think infrastructure, as far as communities, to make sure that they invest in infrastructure to have those green spaces, parks, even investing in bettering the sidewalks so people can walk safely are things. But as far as parents go, make sure you watch the screens, watch what they are looking at on the screens. Also talk with your children, even if they're grumpy and they don't, seem like they don't want to hear what you have to say, engage with them, because what we know is it only takes one listening adult to change something in a child's life. So one of the things about adverse childhood experiences, it shows that one adult that cares about them can turn that around. So even if that adult is not at their home, we hope that it is, but if it's not, they could be a trusted pastor, a trusted doctor, a trusted therapist, just an adult that they can confide in. And I think also to destigmatize mental health challenges and issues in our community, to make sure that they know that if they're struggling with something, that it's okay that they tell somebody about that. Because sometimes, yes, we can pray for them, but sometimes they really do need to seek the help of a therapist, a counselor, or pastor. And sometimes they do need other help as far as children in crisis. So one thing I do want to say is if a child says that they have thought about contemplating suicide, I take that seriously. I never say that a child is doing that for attention, especially now that we know the stats that I read to you earlier, that it is a real crisis among Black youth, that I would take that seriously. And so if someone's saying that they are wanting to harm themselves, trust it. I would always say take those children to the emergency room or some kind of crisis management to make sure that they can get the help that they need. Because what you don't want is a child that does do something and you're dealing with something that you never thought you would deal with. So those are the things that I would recommend.
So cut down that screen time, right? There's actually a question that came through that I think is really relevant to actually ask you now. And we already said, hey, we would bring it up later, but it's relevant to this. And that was how kids use that same screen time for social interaction. And so the idea that if we take away the screen time, that now they can't communicate with their friends and interact with them. What would you say to that? And I know you have to answer it kind of quickly, but we can circle back later.
Yeah.
But
so I guess I'll clarify for smaller children who are not socializing on that, so like I'm thinking elementary school children, I guess some of them are playing video games with their friends, but we used to go outside and play with our friends. So that's a little bit different. But the younger kids, I don't think, when I see a 2-year-old like sitting in front of the TV for a long period of time, that, that's where we get those habits built, right? So if we say or offer, the opportunity for them to maybe have their friend come and do that in person or go out to play at a park or whatever. Yes, that is a socialization per se, but you can also encourage them to have other ways where they're actually socializing in person. I think and we all did that, during COVID. We all socialize with our families over the screens, right? But that's not the same as being in the same room with them. And studies have shown that even with all of that screens that we did during COVID, where we were seeing our friends or we still had a lot of social isolation that came around from that, even because seeing over a screen is not the same as in person. So I would say just be cognizant of that and just get a balance. That's what I would say.
Makes a lot of sense. And it puts some of it on us as parents, because that means now I need to get to know your friends. I need to get to know their caregivers so that we can arrange these play dates and things of that nature. I think
that's what our families used to do when we were growing up. They had to know where you were going and who your people were.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, we can't just use the screens as a way of appeasing and babysitting our children. Maybe we end up modeling some of that social engagement for them and they can spring forward. I wish we had more time.
Yes.
This has been rich and fruitful. We look forward to bringing you back up here in a moment, but y'all, let's show some love to the good doctor.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in a bit. Well, this kind of highlights exactly where we were going, right? Because healthy children come from healthy families, right? Healthy habits that were modeled for them. So, if I'm struggling with social engagement, it's going to be more difficult for my child to be able to have that play date. So I think it's important for us to bring on our next guest, Dr. McDonald, because we need to know how, as families, we can be a bit more healthy in our habits together. And so let's welcome Dr. Asia McDonald back to A Pastor and a Therapist podcast. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So Dr. McDonald, when you look at the trends and what you've heard already, and the trends that you are well aware of, like hypertension and diabetes, what do you see as the biggest underlying cause beyond genetics? Because we hear that I'm genetically predisposed. My grandpappy had it. My great grandpappy had it. I's got it too. So we know we're kind of combating some of the genetic stuff. But what do you see as the biggest underlying causes?
Yeah, sure. The genetic risks are real. They're real. But they're probably not as significant as many of us believe. Genetic risks typically are about 20 to 30% of chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension and high cholesterol, even heart disease, even certain forms of cancer. So the factors that more significantly impact our risk of developing these diseases are some of the concerns that we've already mentioned already, right? So Pastor Carmichael eloquently shared, and you know, I got up out of my seat and started moving around during this talk because I realized the importance of physical activity. As Dr. Jamel has mentioned, you know, the impact of obesity on our health of not just our children, but also, you know, as we age. Other factors are our habits, our personal habits, like smoking and drinking. And a tremendous risk factor is our nutrition, right? So our daily choices in terms of how we nourish our body, how we move our body, ingestion of toxins, and management of weight carry significant impact in helping us to stay healthy. And like Dr. Jamel, I also love statistics. I find them fascinating. I know they can be a little boring, but I personally find them fascinating. So I have a few that I'd like to share. So about the impact of these lifestyle concerns. So poor nutrition is responsible for 45% of deaths from heart disease, from stroke, and from type 2 diabetes in adults. Physical inactivity increases our risk of diabetes and our risk of heart disease by 30 to 50%. Smoking is involved in 25% of cardiovascular deaths, and 60% of people who experience a heart attack continue to smoke following that initial heart attack. And then regarding obesity, we find that obesity is one of the strongest risk factors for development of diabetes and hypertension. It can double and sometimes even triple our risk dependent upon the degree of obesity. So we see that these lifestyle concerns, these are, really impact our health in significant ways. So sure, genetics is key, but it's really our everyday walk that is most impactful. So I just want to just circle back around to poor nutrition for a moment. So here in America, we have standard American food that we enjoy. Some call it the SAD diet, right? And SAD could also stand for Southern American diet, right? And we find that the SAD diet oftentimes is a challenge with over consumption of some types of foods and under consumption of other types of foods. We typically under consume the foods that nourish our bodies. So those are our high fiber carbohydrates, our lean and healthy proteins, our healthy fats, right? And we tend to overconsume the things that can be most harmful to our bodies. So that's the excess sugar, the excess sodium, and the excess saturated fat. So of adults, 1 in every 10 adults meet the recommended guidelines for how many fruits and vegetables we should be consuming each day. Just 1 out of every 10% of us, right? Regarding physical activity, current recommendations are that we should aim for 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity. Moderate intensity is walking, it's gardening, it's dancing around the home. 150 minutes per week is that recommendation for movement. That guideline also recommends, as Pastor Carmichael mentioned, strength training, right? And that recommendation is to be engaged in strength training at least 2 days a week. And these don't have to be go hard 1 hour long sessions. This can be just 10 to 15 minutes of strength training each session. And that recommendation also emphasizes the importance of having 1 day a week for flexibility, okay? And balance, especially as we age, to support healthier aging. Here in America, 50% of adults do meet that guideline in terms of getting the right amount of moderate intensity cardio, but only 25% of us are also engaged in strength training of some sort. So there's a lot of work that we can do in these areas, right? Other factors, Dr. Jamel, thank you so much for that really impactful and sobering set of statistics that you shared about the state of our community. I mean, we are truly in the midst of a health crisis, right? And those social determinants of health that you mentioned, dealing with food scarcity and housing instability and transportation issues. Other factors are not having adequate access to healthcare, as well as language barriers can also be some of the social determinants of health that impact us. So I have some statistics in regards to adverse childhood experiences. When children experience abuse and neglect and household dysfunction, that significantly impacts their health, because those early traumas create this cascade of inflammation in their bodies, hormone dysregulation in their bodies, that over time will increase their risk for developing diabetes and hypertension and chronic mood disorders and obesity that carry on into adulthood. We also see this with exposure to environmental toxins like air pollution and water pollution, and chronic noise exposure also will trigger a very similar cascade of inflammation in our bodies. And then, of course, the impact of discrimination and racism in our communities. So these social determinants of health in total have been shown to raise our risk for heart disease and stroke by 31% in our adult years. But there is some good news. And the good news is that exposure to these harmful agents, it can alter our gene expression, right? And that alteration in the gene expression can actually turn off the genes that help to promote our health, and turn on the genes that can lead to chronic disease. And that is a field called epigenetics that studies this. The good news is that if we incorporate healthy practices more often, that we can flip that switch, turn off those genes that are promoting disease and power up those switches that are going to promote good health. And that can happen one additional vegetable at a time. That can happen one additional step at a time. That can happen by increasing our strength training, getting adequate sleep. That can happen by finding ways to manage the chronic stress and treating the chronic stress in childhood through our adult years.
That's incredibly powerful. You said something that made me about fall out of my chair. When you said 45% of the deaths are essentially just us eating ourselves to death.
Mm-hmm.
Like smoking and eating ourselves to the grave is these guests today have given us a wealth of knowledge so far. Something Dr. Mill said was one adult can completely change the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, to where those don't create such a harmful impact on someone's life. You telling us that we can literally just shift what we eat, and that can help us epigenetically to where we don't activate some of these harmful things that are pre-wired in us. Dr. Carmichael mentioning that, hey, if we get out and just move, a little bit of movement consistently can change quite a bit. This is amazing. Really quick, before we bring everybody back on, I did want to ask you, how can integrative medicine help communities of color? Because I know that's your area of expertise, and I know we're not giving you enough time to really unpack everything here today. But can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So integrative medicine is whole person care, right? So it's addressing mind, body, and spirit, right? And, so I've been a physician for 25 years, but most of my time as a physician was spent working in our standard healthcare practices, which are typically modeled as you come in, you wait in that waiting room, you see your doctor for 10, 15 minutes if you're lucky. They write your prescription, they send off your labs, and they'll see you in 3 months' time. And that is whether you're dealing with a new diagnosis of diabetes or complications relating to hypertension or poor sequela from these conditions. 15 minutes, that's what you got. On average, people see their doctor about 4 times a year. So that means 1 hour spent an entire year caring for patients that have chronic diseases that will worsen, right, and be carried on through generations if we're not placing emphasis on the importance of prevention. So as an integrative medicine clinician now, I've come to this place where I can no longer practice in a system that is truly a sick care system, that is not committed to empowering people with the information that's necessary to live healthier for themselves, for their families, for their children, for their communities. So with integrative medicine, there are many, many different realms of it. I practice what's called lifestyle medicine. And lifestyle medicine, we have 6 pillars that we stand on. And these pillars, we educate patients on how to manage hypertension through nutrition, through physical activity, through stress reduction, through getting good quality sleep, right? Through building healthy social connections and supports, right? And learning how to leverage the various resources that are available in our communities, as well as the importance of avoiding risky substances that increase those risks for disease.
Wow. So here we are yet again. It seems like going back to where we started, the choices we make, the decisions we make are very key here. I want to go ahead and add the rest of our panelists back so that we can get everybody together. As we do that, can y'all just show these all-stars that have assembled the Justice League or whatever we're going to call them today? Can we just show them some love in the chat section, because they have been absolutely amazing and they blessed me. If nobody else has been blessed tonight, my soul has been blessed thus far. With that said, and everybody begin to go ahead. We already have a couple questions that have been put in the queue. Go ahead and begin to ask your questions. While we generate some questions, I want to give everyone on the panel an opportunity to go ahead and talk about what products, different things you have out there, how your services can be accessed, etc. Because people are going, I need some of that in my life. I need to get with Dr. Carmichael's 360 Fitness. So if you could just go around and you could just talk about for a moment what you have out there, so that, and how to get access to it for those who are interested. And Dr. McDonald, we'll go in reverse order since you just went. Let's start with you, and then we'll move on going backwards from there and end with Dr. Carmichael.
Sure. So I founded a healthcare practice, an integrative healthcare practice, a couple of years ago called Healthy Roots MD. It is based in Somerville, South Carolina. It is a direct primary care model. And what that allows is the opportunity to really sit and do deep dives with my patients. On average, our visits are an hour to an hour and a half, and we talk about all things lifestyle medicine to promote wellness. I also lead a walk group, which meets monthly. We're on break right now. We'll restart once this weather decides it wants to heat up a little something. So if you're interested in reaching out to me to find out more information about the practice or the walk group, which is free for all to attend, then you can contact me at www.healthyrootsmd.com for membership information into my primary care practice, or you can call me at 843-284-6422 to find out information about the walk group.
Thank you so much, Dr. Felder. How about you?
Well, I don't have my own practice. I'm actually working for others at this moment, but you can find me on LinkedIn at Jamel R. Felder, on Instagram at jpaysingermd, that's my married name, or on Substack at Jamel Felder, MD, MBA at Substack. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Pastor Carmichael?
Yes, Dr. McDonald and Dr. Jamel, just beautiful. Thank you so much for the information. Just want to share just briefly that we have our Fit in 15, and I really want to encourage everyone to participate in that. It is just something where you can just get in front of your camera. Weights are optional, and just get moving, and I'll help you, and I'll work with you. But I just want everyone to know that you can do this. And the beautiful thing about exercise is that there's grace. You cannot exercise for 40 years, but it will not take you 40 years to get in shape. That's grace. So I want to encourage you. 15 minutes, Fit in 15. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, this is beautiful. Okay. We got, hopefully you guys can stay on just a few more minutes with us. We've got a couple questions that we definitely want to try to answer. The first one is here. What are some ways that we can communicate and encourage healthy lifestyles in a community that may not be receptive to the statistics because they are comfortable with the way they have been living? I'm going to put it this way. I got family and they like to cook a certain way. And I tried to go to them and say, hey, I'm trying to work on my health, my hypertension, my sugar and all that good stuff. Can we not, use the fat back, or can we not use this particular oil? How do we begin to shift the culture when everybody ain't on board? Who would like to take that first?
If I could just offer from this perspective, it's often difficult. There's a cultural consideration, even when there are, some of our Indian American brothers and sisters, with the rice and the carbohydrates, they're having a tough time with diabetes because of the carbohydrates in the vegetarian diet. So there's a cultural consideration, not just for our community, but for all communities, and it's difficult. So maybe our good doctors can offer some support. There is a cultural consideration for everyone.
I'll just jump in real quick because I'm gonna let Dr. Asia handle this, but I'm just gonna say because I had a practice similar to Dr. Asia McDonald's practice as well, and I had hour-long visits as well. But I saw children as well as their parents, and what I would say is it's easier for them to make a change if it's their child. So a lot of times for me, when they brought their child in, they were willing to make the changes and sacrifices as a family because they were very afraid that their child was going to end up being just like them with early diabetes, hypertension, and they know that they didn't want that for their child. So sometimes that was the flip and was able to help me with families changing their behaviors.
And I would say do it gingerly. Okay, do it gingerly and strategically. So my father's a low country man. He's grown up with eating. He likes what he likes, and he's not changing anything about it. Right. So sometimes we got to slide some things in there without his knowledge. All right, that have more nutritional value. So it can be a swap from his Uncle Ben's convertible rice to maybe another rice that doesn't look that different, right? But we know has more nutritional value. It can be maybe a swap from, using the pork in the salted pork in the greens to maybe using some smoked turkey in the greens, or maybe using some smoked paprika, or maybe using some liquid smoke, which still give that smoke flavor, right? And unless somebody was there watching you do that pot, they probably wouldn't notice that it's missing. So I would say gingerly. Same thing with dairy products, which we know are quite inflammatory and not well tolerated by many in our community. Simple swaps with, and experiment with various types of maybe plant-based milks. Don't just, I don't like almond milk, so now I'm writing all of them off. Same with the way that we prepare foods. So, let's take okra, right? Steamed okra tastes very different than fried okra. So, try to prepare foods in various ways. Don't just try it one way and say, I don't like it. And, just extend some grace, understanding, and be patient with your loved ones. These changes are deeply embedded parts of our culture, and they do take time.
So what I'm hearing from each of you, kind of the common theme is we have to take the initiative to kind of introduce that change. So I noticed you didn't say, tell them that they need to, you said you can start cooking with this. It reminded me, and this is testimony service just for a moment. When I first got married, my vegetable intake was horrible. And I also was not open to trying different and new vegetables. My wife literally had to hide vegetables, chop them up, hide them like I was a toddler.
Wow.
In food. So I would digest it and not know, so that then she could come back and say, there were really some carrots in there. There was really this in there. So you do like it. And what was amazing is, as I began eating it, all of a sudden, then I began to crave it and was more open to it and the textures and things of that nature. So learn from somebody like me. Sometimes you got to just fool us. You just because if it's good, it's good. We're gonna like it. But you might have to, be innovative and let there be some unique methods to addressing it. There was one other question I wanted to make sure we got to, and I can't find it, but it was around oils. On which oils? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Dr. Frederica is now with us, y'all. She's behind the scenes making things work. That's why things are working well. What about food oils? Thank you, Gary. There are some bad ones people use regularly, like vegetable oil. Can you help us out with this oil? Because we want to be anointed. We want the power of the Lord with us. So which oil should we be using? Which ones are the ones we stay away from? And then I know enough to know some of them are good, but you can't use them a particular way. They're good, but if you heat them up a certain amount or something, they may be bad. To jump on this.
Okay. I can take this. Okay. So oils in general, can increase our risk for cardiovascular disease. They could increase our risk for hypertension. They can be pro-inflammatory, right? So we definitely want to be careful with our oils. I know we don't have a lot of time. So we want to look for our oils that have more anti-inflammatory properties. So generally, that would be our olive oils, especially our cold pressed extra virgin olive oils. That would be our grapeseed oil. That could be our avocado oil in moderation. We know that certain oils can denature when they are heated. So that extra virgin olive oil, you don't want to heat. That's good for a nice little drizzle, but you will miss out on its anti-inflammatory and health properties if you are heating up your olive oil. So don't deep fry in olive oil. Preference for your grapeseed oil in that case.
Well, and you said something, and I know somebody else on here is just like I am. You said denature. Can you tell us what denature means?
Yep, you're breaking up the chemical bonds and potentially producing chemicals that can be hazardous for our health, sometimes even cancer-causing.
Wow. All right. So you heard what oils to use and how to use them. and you don't want to denature them. I love that. Did anybody else want to weigh in on that, or did y'all say Dr. McDonald just did her thing? Okay. With that said, we thank everybody for joining us. I want to give each person an opportunity to give some last words that you want to leave with everybody. We've already heard tonight, move. Whatever you can do while you're already doing it, move while you do it. Move while you pray. If you can move while you check your email, if you can move with the kids, move. We've heard that. We've heard that eating, we can eat ourselves to death or eat ourselves to life. And so it's important that we check what we're eating and how we're cooking, and that we introduce good foods to our body. I loved what was said. Dr. McDonald said we eat basically too much of the bad stuff and not enough of the good stuff. So we can change that ratio. They'll be in much better shape. And then what Dr. Jamil told us was, hey, one adult, all it takes is one adult to make a significant life-altering, transformative shift in the life of a child. That means, and you don't even have to be the parent, what you said. You can be a mentor, pastor, a teacher, a Sunday school teacher, an usher. You can be a community member, a neighbor. You literally have the power to impact and shift the life of a child by being a part of them in a healthy, intentional way. Those were just one of the major nuggets I got from each of you. So I already took that nugget, but I want to pass it back to you. What are the last things that each of you would like to say? We'll go back in the order that we started. And so Dr. Carmichael, why don't you lead us off, and then everybody, you can follow suit. And you have to unmute, Doctor.
Great. So thanks again for having me. It was so good to be a part of this with everyone. I've learned so much, and I've been inspired as well to continue with this health journey. But I just want to offer to all of those who are listening, you know the importance of taking care of yourself. But I really want you to know that you have to start, and you can start right where you are. Just start, don't think about it. Go from just thinking about it to actually starting. And really, 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 this is what I want you to hear. Please get some professional help. There are people out here that want to help you and can help you. So I just want to leave you with that. Don't try to do it on your own. Get some professional help and get started. You can do it.
All right, get started. You can do it. All right, Dr. Felder.
Yes. So I wanted to bring us back to the title of our session tonight, which was Whole Health by Healing the Body, Mind, and Soul. And so I would encourage you to heal your body by nourishing it with good nutrition and being as active as you possibly can be, and partnering with your doctors. I would encourage you to heal your mind by decreasing your stress level, practicing mindfulness, and partnering with your counselor if you need to. And soul, heal your soul by praying and fasting, reading your Bible, and partnering with your pastor. And so that's what I would leave you with as far as how we have our whole health.
I love it. I love it. Partner with your pastor, partner with others, and look at yourself holistically. All right, Dr. McDonald, you can.
There's nothing left to say. All of this, right? And start today. Start today. We all have 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. We can steal 5 minutes, right? To care for ourselves holistically. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So take off of us whatever this thought of is that we have to do a million things to begin shifting. What you heard tonight is start where you are, and you can just make these very small, incremental shifts, and you will be amazed how much happens. I'll put it this way. Little becomes much when you put it in the master's hand. You will be blown away how much God can do with just a little bit of commitment, a little bit of faithfulness, and a little bit of faith. So wherever you are tonight, whatever you're struggling with, whatever your prognosis or diagnosis or numbers are, know that they don't have to stay there, that there is great power available to you. And as you heard from our experts, there's a community of support that is available to you. I do hope that you'll take advantage of the information and the resources that they have shared with you, many of which are free, and that you would take a look at who already around you in your community that you can go ask. As Dr. Carmichael said, you can tell them it is better to give than receive. And you are in position to receive the wisdom, insight, direction that they have for you. So, beloved, I want to say a prayer with you before we get off tonight. I also want to acknowledge the therapist and the pastor and the therapist, my co-host, my partner in health, amen, through this podcast, Dr. Frederica Brooks Davis, who made her way and pressed her way through all of that traffic in order to be with us tonight. Here she is. Good to see you, sis. Good to see you. Anything for the people tonight?
Absolutely. Only thing I want to say is to thank all of our guests. Thank Pastor Byron for carrying it on. And please share, because it was the invaluable information, particularly as we are entering the holiday season when we have all of those traditions. So get moving, eat well, be well, and thank you all for joining us this evening. But be sure to share it with your friends and family. And thank all of our panelists for joining us tonight.
And don't be afraid to hide the vegetables. Somebody else put in the chat section that they shifted in the spaghetti. They shifted out the red meat with turkey, and their husband didn't even know it. And he was just like, oh, this is good. This is good. Look, it's for their good. Go ahead and bless somebody with some modifications that will bless their soul that they didn't even know about it. With that said, thank you again. Let us look to the Lord in prayer. Father, we are just grateful and thankful for what our ears have heard, our eyes have seen, and our hearts have received. We are grateful that you are everything. You are the one who sends us the wisdom and direction we need in order to see transformation come to our lives. Now we ask for the strength to be disciplined. We ask God for the knowledge of what changes that we can make. And we ask that you would help us to develop the discipline to move, eat to live, and reach out to the next generation and love them the way you love us. We pray for strength as we get ready for these holidays where desserts and sweets will be of plenty. And we ask, Lord, that you would help these many negative statistics to begin to shift, one person at a time, one decision at a time, one household, one community at a time. Bless our guests who poured out to us with a labor of love tonight and gave us truly life-giving information. Bless their endeavors. Bless them professionally. Bless their families. Bless their health and their wellness. And Lord, as our country continues to make its way through these dark, desolate, and difficult times, where many are unsure when their next paycheck is going to come or how they will purchase any food, we ask, Lord, that you would make crooked ways straight, provide for those who need, send help where it is needed, and heal, Lord, our bodies. And so, God, thank you for everyone who tuned in tonight and those who will watch later. Continue to cover and keep us. It is in your name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight. And I pray you have a wonderful rest of your week.